Hey y'all, it's Raj with EV365, and for those of you that follow the channel, you know the last video I did on the Fisker Ocean 1, I alluded to that I was going through a legal process to try to get maybe some of my money back, if not all of it back, for the Fisker Ocean 1, because I was dealing with quite a bit of issues that made it undrivable, unsafe, and Fisker had plenty of opportunity to come out and fix it. So I've gone through that process, at least the initial step of it, going through arbitration, and getting a resolution. And the good news for me is that the arbiter agreed with me and has awarded a repurchase of the vehicle. So I wanted to kind of just let folks know the steps that I went through, and maybe this will help others out, either go through that process and get a repurchase, or at least get some type of resolution with Fisker. And I'm standing in front of my vehicle, which really hasn't been operational in about a month. I can't get inside of it. It's completely dead. Can't open the charging port to charge it. And all of that is actually issues that I started facing even after I had decided to put the initial case together. So that just kind of compounded it, which really did kind of help my case as well. So yeah, I just kind of want to go through the steps. And one thing I want to make clear is I'm not a lawyer. I did represent myself throughout this process. I'm very comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with working with legalese and going through the law and stuff and understanding, how to apply it. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're not comfortable speaking in a hearing type setting over the phone, I would suggest that you get some counsel, get some legal representation, somebody that you're comfortable with and that understands the case that you're trying to present, so they can help you out. So step one really is Fisker has used the National Center for Dispute Settlement as their dispute settlement agency to work through. And I found this out because I initially tried to go through the Texas Lemon Law for my Fisker. And the folks over at the Texas Lemon Law, at that department, were nice enough to point me in the direction to go that way. And the reason I couldn't go through the Texas Lemon Law initially was because Fisker had never gotten this registration or title transferred over to me. So then I went over to California and noticed that California's lemon law doesn't necessarily work or handle Fisker either. And on their website is how I got to the NCDS website. And I'll put that link in the address below or in the comments below, so you can go to that link and get your dispute started. And the way it works with the NCDS is they're a third party that works to get you as the consumer, the manufacturer, in this case Fisker, and an arbiter together to go through arbitration and come to a decision. And after you submit your case, the NCDS and the groups involved have 40 days to come to a decision. So once I submitted my case, I got approval from the NCDS within a couple of days to have an arbitration set. And then a few days after that, I had an arbitration date set. And it was about a month out from then. And then we had the arbitration. And then after that, we had 10 days in that 40-day period for the arbiter to make a decision. And they made it within those 10 days. And then after that, you can agree with the decision or not. And if the decision comes out in a way that you don't like, you can resubmit if you have additional evidence. But it's not clear whether that process would go through or not. The automaker at that point has some arguments they can make to not go through the process again. So, hopefully you do get the decision that you want and you're happy with, and then you can agree with it. And then the manufacturer, Fisker in this case, has 30 days to close that out. So in my case, it was for a repurchase. So they have 30 days to repurchase my vehicle. And that's the full price, including all the fees and everything that went along with the vehicle. So I'll put the link to the NCDS website in the comments below. If you are interested, go there and get it submitted. And the key thing I wanted to point out, there's 5 things that you need to keep in mind and that you need to meet. And so this is a very formal process. So you don't want to just go in there complaining about stuff. You want to make sure you've got your case built out and that they meet these 5 points. And the points are the existence of vehicle problems that you list on your claim form when you submit that, why you believe the problems represent a manufacturer defect in materials and or workmanship and are covered by the applicable warranty period, The auto manufacturer and its authorized servicing dealer and or representatives had a reasonable opportunity to repair your vehicle. The number of repairs and days out of service associated with your vehicle, so you want to make sure you document that. And the last one, and probably one of the most important, the defects or problems represent a substantial impairment to the use, value, or safety of your vehicle. So that's key, the use, the value, and the safety of your vehicles. And I know all of us Fisker owners probably feel like all three of those check the box, and they probably do, but the key is to use those first 4 bullets to make that case. And it even says that it's the consumer's responsibility to submit factual evidence as to how there is a substantial impairment of use, value, or safety of the vehicle. And to be honest, for me, I didn't even talk about value in my case. I focused on the use and the safety. And one thing to make clear is I know for a lot of folks out there, particularly like us in Texas, there's no Fisker service centers here. And Fisker will try to argue that your vehicle is not at a service center sitting there. So it is key to make clear to the arbiter during the arbitration process that Fisker provides service kind of like at your residence or at your place of work or where they'll meet you to provide service, and not through a traditional service center type of platform. Now, if you live nearby a service center, this may not be an argument that you can make. So for me, I was able to make that argument that the Fisker was sitting in my driveway unusable after I had contacted Fisker multiple times and had never gotten a service call set up and only got a few repair attempts, over email, which was like software reset or a hard reset. They sent some vents for an air conditioner, but they never sent anybody out to install them. And I never got any software updates. So it's key for you to make that distinction that Fisker cannot circumvent the law because of the way they provide service. So they will try to do that. And I have been in touch with a few other folks that have gone through this process and that are going through this process. And we have noticed that Fisker is adjusting the way they're responding to these cases. Initially they were coming out quite hard on the software and trying to blame everything on the software. So it's key that you are able to argue that the issues that you are having, if you can make them distinct from software alone, obviously software is key to point out. That's something Fisker does need to be able to provide updates on. Like, for example, my car was delivered several software versions out of date, even at delivery. And then since then, several updates has come out and I'd never received any of them. So that's obviously not acceptable. But on top of that, I was able to make arguments about hardware related issues and hardware related issues that affected the drivability of my vehicle and affected the safety of the vehicle. The biggest one there being the sensors in the seats not working, which kept the vehicle from going into drive, going into reverse. Sometimes it would kick itself into park when you're at a traffic light or when you're reversing. And then of course the sensors in the back seats, which wouldn't pick up our children in the back seats. So that would keep, maybe the airbags or seat belts and things like that from functioning properly. And I was also able to prove through working with the delivery driver that delivered my vehicle to get some testimony from them to confirm that some of those issues were occurring, or actually all of those issues were occurring even when he picked up the vehicle from Fisker. So that's the kind of example I'm giving of making your case. And again, you just want to focus on these 5 bullet points and make sure you're addressing these in a very clear and concise manner and providing written documentation that you have contacted Fisker, let them know about them, given them ample opportunity to fix it. And if they've done any kind of attempt at repair, even if it is just that simple letter they sent all of us to do software resets or the hard reset, or sending you the AC vents. And AC vents, that's a safety issue as well, especially if you live in a hot climate like Texas. So you want to stress that, and you want to stress that that's hardware and not software. And then the other thing Fisker will try to do is just say, y'all are early adopters, and this is some of the things that you should expect as an early adopter. And yeah, some of that is true, but again, make the case that the stuff that you're dealing with is not just simple early adopter type stuff. And now we've seen Fisker come out, like for example, my car is now bricked, and they will try to make the argument that, oh, people's vehicles are now ceasing to operate after they've submitted their claim to the NCDS. I don't think that's going to fly. We've got a few people going through their arbitrations with Fisker trying to make that claim. But they are, like I said, adjusting the way they're trying to argue these cases. And so you just want to be prepared to kind of address those things. And the one good thing is, and the one thing I will recommend, is you can opt to do your arbitration, either just a paperwork arbitration where you don't show up, Fisker doesn't show up, everyone just submits paperwork. I don't recommend that. Obviously you can make your case on paper, but then Fisker gets the last word because they get a manufacturer's response that they'll send in, and that'll be the last thing that the arbiter sees. I suggest doing the teleconference meetup. That allows you to submit your paperwork. It allows Fisker to do a manufacturer response, which you will get before the arbitration. So then you kind of know what Fisker is going to come in as their argument, and you can prepare to respond to that stuff. And then during the teleconference, you get a chance to speak. Obviously, the arbiter will kick off the meeting, but you get a chance to present your case in full. And my arbiter was very professional, kept it on the go. She was very knowledgeable, so that was good. And then Fisker gets a chance to respond to your case, and then you get the chance to have the final word. So that's why I suggest going through that teleconference. And another thing is, go to this meeting. Obviously, all of us that are going through this stuff with Fisker are upset. You can get kind of elevate, your mood and your temperament can get elevated. Try to keep it calm, try to keep it professional, and just stick to the facts. And again, like I said, address these 5 points that are in here and make the case that your issues were either pre-existing, or that even if the issue started after you took delivery of the vehicle, that you've given Fisker ample opportunity to make the repairs, that the repairs do exist. I sent in video clips of all of my issues, and I'm fortunate, obviously I have a YouTube channel, so I did have a lot of the stuff documented, including the delivery where the vehicle was already showing some of the issues. But put videos together, send in emails, send in your service tickets, any communication you have, and any communication you have with Fisker from this point moving forward, make sure you have it all in writing. So yeah, that's kind of the way to go through it. And then there is the lemon laws for your states. I would say do both of those concurrently. State lemon laws, that process takes a lot longer. So I'd say get this one going. This is a 40-day turnaround. By law, it has to be completed in 40 days. So do this one, do your lemon law. If the car's under your name and registered in your name, do your state lemon law as well concurrently. So yeah, again, I will put the link in the comments below. If you do have any basic questions, let me know, direct message me or put them in the comments and I'll try to address them. But again, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so if you do have some in-depth questions and things like that, do get some counsel, do get some legal help, and try to get them to guide you that way. But I have been successful in going through this and getting awarded the repurchase, and now I will document the steps from now to the 30 days to see how that repurchase goes and keep you guys updated on that. So unfortunately not the greatest of news that we have Fiskers that don't work, but maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel for some of us that actually do have legitimate cases. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and hang loose, y'all.